things are not perfect. You're going to have to deal with adversity and, things go wrong. And I think that's kind of the big picture, the life lessons along the way that sports can create that you don't always get at, being in the play or being at a debate team. I mean, when you got a big audience and things go wrong and how do you deal with it and critique, it's your first step because it gets, the games get bigger and the situations get tougher. And I think it's a great place to kind of, show some perseverance and show some character.
I think that's so important because failure and dealing with adversity, in my mind, my whole approach towards youth sports is to learn those very lessons. And you just brought up a great one. So give us some insight. What is that approach? Like how do you handle those hard conversations with your son or daughter, or how do you deal with when they come home and they've experienced a little failure or they've had, whether it's a bad game or you mentioned maybe losing a little time, like what is the approach that you guys that you take in your family to allow those moments to be a fail forward and allow them to continue to improve and continue to move forward with their lives?
I'm a big fan of putting it back on them. Like, what do you think the problem is? And then how are you going to solve it? I don't like,
that's great.
I don't like complaining. I don't mind a complaint, but let's have the resolution and then you do it. I don't, there's a time, I guess, in a place when a parent has to step in, but most of the time I'd like you do it on your own. If you got a problem with a teammate, call him. Let's call him, and no texting, no emailing. Let's, call him and say, hey, I want to talk to you about it, man to man. And maybe you get it worked out, maybe you don't, but taking things head on and really discussing is the way I like to do it. And, I think that's part of growing up. I know it was the other day, Arch was, he creates these great relationships with these coaches. They're wonderful to him. They're great people. And then there's some point when you're not going to go to that school and the coaches continue to call you, and you gotta call them and let them know that I don't think this is going to work out. And he's like, ooh, I don't want to do that. I mean, I go, hey, part of growing up, you got to call, and they think you're calling, hey, buddy, how you doing? You're like, Coach, I don't, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I just don't see myself going to, this university. And they're disappointed, but at the same time, they appreciate that. And that's a lesson. It's growing up. It's not fun. It's awkward. It's hard. It's like breaking up with a girlfriend. It's not, you don't want to, but sometimes you got to do it because it's the right thing to do. And I think, again, it gets, the situation.
I just think that's just such valuable perspective for so many people. And whether it's calling a college coach to tell him you're not coming, I vividly remember making those calls. My dad, it didn't matter who called, what coach it was. I'd be like, Dad, I'm not going to Purdue or, whoever, no offense to Purdue for all my Purdue fans out there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going there. He's like, this coach took this coach took time to write you letters. He's taken time to come visit. You owe him that respect. And now at the time I was 17, I didn't want to come home. I didn't have a cell phone, right? So I'd have to be home at 7:00 in the spring when I was in track and field and then go out with my buddies for pizza. Like, I didn't want to have to come home because coach whoever was calling me. But like, looking back on those moments, I'm glad he made me do it, because now the 37-year-old version of me, those are the same ways that I try to carry forward and build those lessons into my kids and dealing with failure and dealing with adversity and having uncomfortable conversations. So I'm glad my parents made me do that, even though in the moment I probably despised it.
We had a conversation the night. Arch was trying to debate on whether to run track in the spring. He goes, I think I'd rather just, lift to get stronger and work on and just kind of stick with football. And he goes, but I love our track coach. He's the best guy. And I don't want to tell him that. I go, Dad, will you call him? I said, I'm not calling him. I mean, you call him. You're going to call him right now and tell him the deal. Get on the phone right now. He's like, oh, I don't want to do it. I go, get on the phone. Sure enough, has this great conversation. Coach Fowl is a total pro. I get an email from the coach saying, hey, I really appreciated the call from Arch. That's, I know we're going to certainly miss him, but that's a mature thing to do. And I sent that to Arch like this. You see, it's starting to, it makes sense. I know it's a juvenile, it's a boy turning into a man, and you got to make him. You can't bail him out all the time. You got to handle it. They got to handle it.